Hello everybody and welcome to my video. Today I'm going to go over two methods of stenciling for spindles and pins that I found. I'm sure somebody else has tried these, but I'm just going to share my experiences. I got the idea by watching another video on using water slides. I didn't have a lot of experience on that, but I'm going to try and find the video. If I do, I'll put it in the description below so I can share who actually was teaching that. It was a very informative video. I just needed more practice with it. The two methods I'm going to cover, one is going to be using a scorch marker. I've seen a lot of videos on these for people who use crickets and other vinyl cutters to basically chemically etch or chemically burn wood. It's a chemical that goes on there, and then when you apply heat, it'll actually start charring the wood slightly. I've had varying levels of success. I think a lot of it depends on how hot your heat gun gets and also the type of wood you're using. And I'm not certain, but I'm sure these expire as well. The other method I'm going to use is with a very fine mica, metallic in this case, and super glue. And I'll use that to basically create a thin layer that I'll blow off. For the wood one, you want to have bare wood to work off of. And for the mica, I found that you actually want to have a prepared surface. This is 3 layers of CA glue that I've then polished down to a, I wouldn't say a high sheen, but I took it pretty close just so that the vinyl will stick a lot more firmly on there. If it leaks by, you're going to get run that you can't get out, and you'll just have to redo the surface. For the vinyl, last time I used a temporary vinyl, and I don't think it adhered as strongly as I wanted. We're trying a premium vinyl permanent this time, and I'm fairly certain that is what I used the first time I did the CA glue method. So we'll see how this works. We'll do the scorch marker first, and then move on to the CA glue. Now you'll notice these are rather large. It's going to less necessary for the wood burning, but for the CA glue, you want to have a very, very tight seal all around it because it is going to leach and run. Just trying to get it centered up here. Like I said, for this one, it doesn't have to be tightly adhered all the way around. It's a very controlled. You can also make this scorch paste. There's another YouTube video I had watched where that was done, and I will try to find that as well. And the paste may actually prove to be better than the little pen here. It seems to be much more liquid than the other substance. Now we try and peel this off without pulling up all the little bits that I want to remain. And there's one that's not staying. If at first you don't succeed, try a different angle. There we go. And of course, the more ornate you try and make the text, the more difficult this becomes. And see, I've got just a wee little bit of bubbling there. That's not going to impede me too much on this, but for the CA glue, I really need to avoid any of those little misalignments. And that's probably because this is not a perfectly cylinder piece. And of course, the other option out of all of this is to use a laser engraver with a rotary axis, which I got today. So we'll be trying that out at some point in the future. All right, This thing has two tips. It has a foam brush and a tip. Oh, I hadn't actually pulled that out before. I'm going to try this. A nice deep layer on there. That's pretty handy. And hopefully it's not leaching by those bubbles I have in the vinyl. But hey, learning experience. This will be my second time attempting the burning. So we'll see how that works out. Let's see. Sand the surface to at least 220 grit. Did that clean the surface? Yes. Shake well. Prime the marker, which we didn't do because we used the foam. Apply heat until desired burn is achieved. More heat, darker burn. Now I did try a battery operated heat gun at first. It's convenient, but I don't think it got hot enough. And I'm going to try this with the vinyl on, at least at first. Don't do that with the vinyl on. It's starting to bubble. Let's see. But it did make it nice and soft, so hopefully removal's a little bit easier. I want to try not to smear. And you can see a little bit. Oh, I don't think that's from the etchant. Anybody who hasn't done the working with the vinyl, weeding is the most fun ever, he said sarcastically. It's right up there with sanding. Now the nice thing about doing this etch with heat is if it works out, you should be able to apply whatever finish you want on the outside of it. The other method is pretty much going to be stuck with using the CA glue, and I think the water slide was the same way. You do need to be careful because you can change the color of your wood when you're doing this. Some of the wood, of course, react to the heat as well. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you can see it changing. You can see I had a little bit of leach at the top of that E. It leached by the vinyl. But other than that looks like it worked out pretty well. Yep, up there it leached by the vinyl a little bit, but otherwise very smooth. I wouldn't sand it down too much more than this, maybe just a little bit to clean it up, and apply the finish. And you can see how the M is shaped just a little bit different there, and I think that's because of a little buckling in the vinyl as well. All things to keep in mind. You can see this side of the wood is ever so slightly darker than this side because the wood itself reacted to the heat. But overall, if I can get this off of the Mandrel now. There we go. Fortunately, this was an offcut just to play with. Alright. That worked out quite well. Now it's time for the fun one. Once again, you're going to make sure you have a clean surface. And now, the first time I did this, I just blew on the glue a little bit once it was in place so that it would form a thinner layer. I bought a little pepper ball. It is not required to do this, but I'm hoping it'll make it a little easier. If I did this right, and I didn't, this should be a little bit wider than the piece you're working on. There's a nice light spot that this should show up nicely on. So I've got to be careful around my edges. This I want wrapped all the way around. I want it to come back over itself because it will follow the vinyl down and invariably get on the surface you're trying to etch, or in this case stencil. Once again, pull off our transfer tape and hope that the little bits stay in place. The sharper you make this angle, I find, the better the chance you have of the little bits staying in place. I have one little bubble there, but it went down. One over there on the side. So yeah, I've got a little off to the sides here. Like I said, this is just a practice piece I had put together, so if I were going to use it, I would actually take the time to cover them up a little bit further. Now for the odd order. First thing I'm going to do is put down the mica. And it doesn't have to be metallic. Whatever you have available that you want to use with the wood. I just think this is going to show up well. All it takes is a thin layer. I just needed to get it in all those openings in the vinyl. I want to tamp it down ever so slightly. Now this method isn't for mass production, and short of using the laser itself, I don't think there is going to be a mass production method. And from what I've played with my laser so far, I'm not even certain that qualifies as mass production for little things like this. This is going to be something you would do for a bespoke piece, something that's personalized, that someone wants, so everybody knows it's theirs. Alright, let's take a look and see how well that adhered. I'm going to use a couple light puffs. And I used a little bit too strong of a puff. But that's okay. I have more mica. Now the super glue is going to take some of this mica off with it. And it's going to be a bit of super glue. I'm not going to drown it. Well, it's going to look like it's drowning in super glue. There we go. A little bit further back, that worked better. All right. I have just a little bit of Starbond left in this bottle, but it should be enough to do this. I want to try and hold it level. See how it bubbled up. Start taking away some of that mica right away. And you can see it following down vinyl. Alright, so let's get the lid on that. too bad. But yeah, you can see how that ran down. Now we're going to have to let this sit up. And because I didn't bring my accelerator over here, I get to wait. Now, once this is done, I'm going to lightly finish off the lettering I've done. Very lightly. I just want to kind of take the edges off of it. Then I'm going to put a couple more layers. Well, if this was a finished piece, I'd put a couple more layers of CA glue on top of that. It'll, help hide the edges. You're still going to feel it. It's going to be raised. But it is going to soften those edges. It's not going to look like sharp drop-offs. And it's going to help protect the stenciling. Yeah. Really don't feel like getting super glue on me again. I may actually go get that accelerator that I should have brought over here. And I was complaining because it was 3 feet away from me. And I'm spraying the whole piece because I really don't feel like grabbing a section of CA glue that hasn't set yet. I don't have to wait the full 30 seconds, I don't think, because it was already going. Let's see how this turned out. And of course, metallic mica is the glitter. I'm doing a project like these, it's going to get everywhere and on everything. Yeah, that's a little bit of the CA glue that hadn't set up. When you're done with this, you're also going to want to wipe it off with some denatured alcohol or similar, just to get any of this adhesive off. This is the permanent vinyl, so it's more likely to adhere. Oh, I think that's going to work nicely. Now, water slides, you use, I believe, an inkjet printer. So you can get a lot of color variation and patterns, but not so much metallics. And I think that's where this is going to stand out. The other issue I ran into with the water slides is they always had an edge around them. But now that I know a little bit more of how to work with a Cricut, I think you can do print and cut and just make sure you have a very small offset. I got a couple sections to weed out there. Be careful not to rip up any of the actual glue that I put down. See, just like sanding. Also trying not to dig into the protective layer I already have on there with a weeding tool. And for anybody who might not be familiar, the process of pulling out these little bits is called weeding. And it occurred to me that not everybody may be used to working with a vinyl. Now you can cut out things by hand and do this as well. If you're going for patterns that you can cut out on the vinyl, that's certainly plausible. You can do patterns with your vinyl cutter. I think that came out very nice. It looks properly aligned. And I got a little bit on the outside here that I'll have to clean up. I may actually save this and use it. But like I said, then I'm going to gently work this down with not even sandpaper. I'm going to use microfiber pads or micro polishing pads. And then just like you do with pen or any spindle work, you're going to do a CA finish on. Gently apply a couple layers on top of that, then polish that down as well. But I hope these will prove helpful to somebody. If you got any comments or concerns that you'd like to share, by all means. I don't know everything and I don't mind learning. So any input is greatly appreciated. There may be easier ways to do this, and somebody may have figured that out a long while ago. But overall, not bad. All right, everybody, y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.